Hercules, welcome to the 20-something podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So Hercules is an entrepreneur, he's a business owner, mindset coach, marathon runner, endurance athlete, an incredible motivator through his content across social media, and he's recently announced that he's taken on the 30 at 30 challenge, which I'm sure he'll explain a lot more about in our chat today. I honestly love watching Hercules' content. It's so inspirational and it picks me up when I need it. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. That made me sound way better than I am.
Not at all, honestly.
Thank
you. You should be proud of that.
Appreciate it.
I know we were saying before, like, you find it hard sometimes when people say that you're successful, all these amazing things, but embrace it because that is who you are. So.
Yeah, no, appreciated.
Yeah, so obviously this is the 20-something podcast.
Yes.
So if you could just give us, like, an overview of your 20s. I know it's a long time and it's a whole decade, but yeah, just give us a bit of info.
I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that 20s is like full of these, for me it was full of these big moments of like stress and feeling anxious and like worried because you're told these are the best days of your life.
Yeah.
These are supposed to be the best days of your life. And you're going, I don't know what career I want to do. I haven't got as much money as them. These people are married. Do I have a kid? What do I do? Should I travel the world? All these things. And there's like so much pressure to figure out who you are and what you want to be.
Yeah.
Again, you're convinced they're supposed to be the best days of your life. And I think it took a decade for me to understand the best days of my life are this one right now.
Yeah.
This is the best day of my life. This is the only one. This is the only one you have.
Yeah.
And worrying about the future is a waste of time because it's not here yet. And the past is gone. Whether it have been good or bad, it doesn't exist anymore. So my 20s was a lot of trial and error to get to a place of being present and being in the moment. So yeah, like pack up everything and move to Southeast Asia and travel, done that, weren't happy. Make some money, done that, weren't happy. Date around and like try and do that, weren't happy. And there was so many things that I was convinced the grass was greener. Again, it was just about making sure the grass isn't green on the other side, it's greener where you actually water it and spend time with it. So yeah, I think my 20s was way more stressful than it needed to be, but it's our first time being alive, right? And I know a lot of people can relate to that. So and it's a decade. Like now, if I'm trying to like pinpoint moments, honestly, it's such a long period of time. And I think it's, I just see 20s now as the rehearsal for like a main act, but we're convinced we're in the main act and we just think we have to smash everything out the park straight away. But yeah,
it's like when you get to your 30s, it's all just going to end. So do everything now. And it's like, that is not the case at
I used to be so scared of turning 30. I don't know why. I was like, I'm going to be washed up. I can't wear cool clothes anymore. I got to like wear dad fits and have a kid and talk about interest rates and whatever, but nothing changes. If anything, you just get a lot more wise, a lot more comfortable with who you are, who your real friends are, who you can rely on, what you like, what you don't like. And I think it just comes with experience. And it's like a really nice feeling actually to know yourself more.
That's really good to hear because that's what I'm trying to show like with this podcast is loads of different people's experiences just to show that it is a journey and throughout it you're still going through all of these things, but it is such a learning curve and to embrace what you learn through it. And 100%. Throughout that time, was there like one key moment that kind of changed your life or something that you really learned from?
I'll start by saying that I thought that I made loads of mistakes, but looking back, I made loads of really good decisions where I was quite, I was a bit of a risk taker and I used to think that was an issue, but looking back, it wasn't. But in terms of like a key moment, I remember being in like my mid-20s. At this point, I had like super low confidence, really low self-esteem. I wasn't really working on my business as such as I should be. Stopped going gym, stopped training. I'd just come out of a relationship that I took really personally, that I was like a real issue.
Right. And
it was it must have just been before COVID. And I was living in this house that I was renting by myself. And I'd been by myself for ages. Lived alone. I wasn't really talking to anyone. I hadn't spoken to my family for ages. And I'd become like really resentful. Everything was everyone else's fault. Nothing was my fault. Everyone else has an issue. Someone has a better body than me. Oh, they must be on steroid. All this stuff. I was so in denial that I was the role I was playing in my own sort of like suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one night where I was like just sitting in the room, same as always, not really doing anything. And I remember just feeling overwhelmed with like just sadness and just feeling like, what am I doing with my life? And not even like really, I'm not even really scared to admit. I remember just in that moment, like just actually sitting there like screaming at the walls, like really just letting everything out. And I think in that moment I realized, okay, the pain of just like maintaining this existence, this reality, must surely be harder than the pain of getting up again, getting back training, like going through all the motions, putting in the work again, reaching out to like family and stuff and getting back on track. And literally that night, I remember having a bit of a meltdown and then going, right, this is rock bottom now. We're at the surface. There's no lower than this. Like I can't dig any lower. So I'm there. If I can't turn it around now, that's it. We're staying here. And I remember first thing I done was pick up the phone to my mum. I hadn't spoken to her for months. Resolved some issues there, which was like really a bit of an eye opener for me, and just and then jumped on Amazon, ordered stuff to like for a home gym to start training, and just like really got myself back on track for that moment. But it's not, in reality, it was just me sitting in a room by myself. It's not like a really big thing happened, but I think it was the build up of all the stuff that I'd gone through that had led me to that moment where I was like, right, it's time to like switch gears now. And I always remember that night because I'd been like really lonely before that. And like I said earlier, it was my fault that I was suffering because I'd convinced myself that everything was everyone else's fault and I wasn't really taking responsibility. So from that moment, it was like, that kind of like reshaped the second half of my 20s completely. So yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
No worries.
I saw that you shared a reel recently about making mistakes, and it was like before you made mistakes and after you made a mistake, and like it's the same. And what you learn from that, and I really love that. Like, can you give us a bit more about that?
Again, like what I was saying earlier is I was always convinced that I was making loads of mistakes. But I think a mistake in its first form, its first version, is a lesson. It's like, okay, I've tried something, it didn't work out the way I wanted. And if you can just sit back with that for a minute, it's like, here's why. Because, oh, okay, cool, I've learned that. Now next time I do it this way. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves in our 20s that, let's say we mess up a job, it doesn't work out, or we make a mistake with a friend or in a relationship, whatever it is. Well, that's it now. It's over. Everything's ruined, and
it feels so big.
Yeah, but the sun rises the next day, and every day, I really like the saying, like, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I think that's so true. Like, every day is a chance just to start over. But you're not starting over. You're starting over plus what you've learned from that mistake. So,
I love that.
It's about, I think it takes time to realize that and understand that if you can, like, your mistakes and your failures are actually, like, really good. They're like superpowers. You learn from them and they're motivating. I think, like, let's take running, for example. If you train really hard for something and you want to hit a certain time and you don't, it's such a great motivator to go away and take what you've learned and go, right, next time I'm going to hit it. And it's so much more, it's a lot more rewarding than naturally just nailing everything first time. Because I think you kind of lose what it's really worth and the substance behind it if there is no like grit to earn it. So looking back, I wouldn't like get rid of any of the mistakes that I'd made. I would keep them all there because they were the most important moments for sure. If you erase them, you erase like who you are right now. So
completely. And around that time, had you, because obviously you're a business owner, had you already started your business, or like what gave you that drive to want to?
It's like, firstly, I was just really bad at being told what to do. Like, even in school, I was just a nightmare. Not even in an arrogant way. I was just like always critically thinking. I wanted to do things myself. I wanted to figure stuff out myself. So I went to like sixth form for a couple of months, didn't like it. Went to college for a couple of months, didn't like it. Was going to do uni, didn't like it. And I just like kept quitting, bounced around loads of different jobs until I realized I don't think I'm going to be very content until I do my own thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea of someone telling me when I can go for lunch and all the rest of it. So I had no experience in that, like, wasn't really business minded, didn't really know what I was doing, didn't have a degree, anything like that to back it up. But I just remember being early 20s, credit card maxed out, overdraft maxed out, nothing crazy, probably like 5-6 grand in debt. I was, I wasn't really making ends meet financially, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'd like just come up with an idea, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to give it a crack, because what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
But really, the drive behind it was I wanted to just create freedom of time. It never really was like a money thing to begin with.
Yeah.
I wanted to just have a bit of freedom around my own life. So, which is ironic, because I gave up a 9-5 and then basically worked 24/7.
Yeah.
For good.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, with that, obviously, running a business is so busy.
Yeah.
Like, do you still feel like you have that freedom of time, or is it about like your boundaries and how you manage that?
That's a really good question. I don't. Depends on the day.
Yeah.
Some days, like for example, if I want to go somewhere, I want to book something, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know that I can do that, and that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
However, I still get this sense of I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. I should be steering the ship. I should be growing things. So it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Definitely feel more sense of freedom, but I think when you are doing your own thing, your own business, you're picking up the phone a lot more. You're opening the laptop up more in the evening, and you do have to learn boundaries with that. For the first couple of years, I know this sounds dramatic, but we was honestly doing like 16 to 18-hour days, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even being over the top. That was really how long we were working every day. And you realize that you're just being a busy fool.
Yeah.
Like, being there and working hard is great, but are you working on the right things? Are you looking at bigger picture? You can't always see the wood through the trees when you're doing the more admin and the hands-on roles. And it was just really hard to let go, first of all, to try and find someone that can do things in the way that you want to do them. And also remembering that you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes people can actually do stuff better than you. And that was the biggest eye-opening thing, is to like get people on board that have the skills that you don't, and just put trust in them. So which is a never going thing. It's always evolving. But it's quite hard to let go to begin with, but it's ultimately like you have to. Yeah.
And then like alongside running your business, what made you want to start with like your content and also like high performers? Obviously, I can imagine that takes up so much time as well. But what was that? Was there something like more in you that wanted to kind of give that out?
Yeah, for the content, I feel like I've always been pretty good with words, or people have always said I've been good with words. And I remember like one day, I didn't really use social media at the time heavy. I would just upload like the typical stuff, pictures from holidays, stuff like that. It had no substance. It wasn't important. And I remember one day just hopping on TikTok and just having a bit of a rant for like a minute. I can't even remember what it was about. It was about, I was saying how like people always say when you ask them how they are, oh, not bad. And I was like, so like really depressing conversations. Everyone was living for the weekend type stuff. I remember uploading that, not thinking anything of it, and went back on my phone like 2 days later, and I was like, whoa, this video's on like 600K, and it just kept growing. And I was like, oh, people sort of liked what I had to say. And what drove me to carry on was I was getting messages from kids that were like 18, 19, who literally were where I was, like, thank you, really needed to hear this. And I remember thinking, God, I would have loved to have actually heard that at that age. Because if anything, a lot of the time when I'm doing my videos, I'm talking to myself. It's quite weird to get around, but that's what I'm doing. So I remember feeling, okay, cool, this is a duty now. Like, I want to keep, if I can upload a video and every single time, maybe 1 or 2 people take something from it, that's purpose. That's what I want to do. So I just kept going, carrying on, and really the idea behind what I'm doing is I want to push people. I see my old self in certain people, and I want them to understand that they can get out the other end. So kind of brings us to like the HPC, high performance stuff. One of the best things that I had and other people can have is like people in your network that are on the same trajectory. So me, Owen, Lewis, we'd worked together for years. And it's quite interesting because we all had a similar start state. We'd all kind of evolved and grew together in different ways, but in many ways the same. And part of that is you like intertwine with people who are going in the same direction you want to go. So for us, when we started things like running or gym, we had each other to motivate each other to stay accountable. And also it's kind of good to have a little bit of friendly, right, they're pushing themselves, so I got to push myself. It stops you slacking. So when we really got into running, we didn't really have anyone around us that was into it as much. We didn't really it just wasn't really a thing with sort of the people we were friends with. So we had acknowledged that and we'd put ourselves out there a bit more, and we were like, we should do this for other people. We should create a space where not only do people have someone that they can like run with and work out with, where they can meet like-minded individuals to help motivate each other and grow each other. And, you know, we'd done a few like run clubs, and then we were seeing people that had met there, like going on holidays together and like being friends to them. We were like, this is sick. This is what it's all about. And then again, the purpose fell into place, and we were like, we have to do this now. We're obliged to do this because we're making, like, I know it sounds really dramatic, but it's like you're making the world a better place. Not dramatically, but even on a micro scale. Everyone that's doing something like that is like helping building their small community, and then it kind of spreads like a wildfire. So it's really important to us to keep doing that for sure.
No, completely. And I see that myself. I had Monika on here a couple of weeks ago, and we met at High Performers, and then we ended up doing...
Oh, did you guys? Yeah, there you go. Great. That's so cool.
And then we ended up... She said she was doing Brighton Marathon. I was like, oh, that sounds quite good. I'd like to do that. Then we ended up doing loads of our training together, and we'd only met like a couple of months before. And then it was that we went to a couple of them and kept saying hi to each other and whatever. And now we're like really good friends out of it. So I can vouch for that.
That's great.
Your purpose.
Even us though, like we've made so many friends with people that have come, like really good friends. So super like thankful for it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that you're a life coach as well. And does that kind of feed into that? Like, do you find that helps with your content, or is that something you kind of do more like on the side? Are you still doing that sort of thing?
It's not basically when my business started to actually do well from an outside trajectory, I was getting a lot of messages from, again, mostly young lads that were like, I really want to start saying, I don't know what to do, blah blah blah, can I like ask you a few questions? And I soon realized that people weren't asking me questions because they lacked business knowledge. They kind of lacked the self-belief, confidence, and the accountability to just make the jump. So for me, I was like, I'm not qualified for these questions, but I really want to help people, and I felt like I should learn sort of the proper route to do it. Hence why I went and done my qualifications in like coaching mindset. And it never is a money thing. It wasn't to earn an income. I have like a couple, I don't even call them clients now because I don't charge people. If I genuinely think I can help someone, I'm more than happy to just like hop on a call whenever I can and just chat to them. It's almost like a mentorship, I guess. It does help with the content, but I don't know why like life coach cringes me out. I hate that term. I think there's a lot of like experts on the internet. But really it's opinions, and you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. So my content and what I talk about is just my view and my opinion, and it's built up of my experiences. And if people can resonate with it, that's great. But I would never want to tell people this is how you should live and this is what you should do, because one size does not fit all. And I think that's the problem with social media a little bit is you hop on there, you scroll, and it's like, right, you should only eat like this and you should only do this. And you need to train like this and you should go to these places and dress like them and look like them. And all of a sudden you feel like your head's going to explode.
Yeah, completely.
Sometimes you just need to turn the phone off and do what resonates with you and what feels best for you. And that's how you move forward in life. There isn't one set path. You think that you're on the wrong path because there's a few bumps, but that's a good thing. That means that path hasn't been walked before, and that means that's your path, and you should just keep going. So, long answer there, but I guess
I love it.
Yeah, that's where I got to with it.
And do you feel like it's taken you a long time to become like your authentic self, you could say, or confident? I know you mentioned in a post as well recently, and I've heard it on other podcasts as well, which has been amazing about your name and how you a part of your life you called yourself Lee.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could just explain a bit more about
sure,
that and kind of like the journey to owning who you are now.
So, so funny talking about it. So, yeah, my birth name's like Hercules Nicolaou. It's Greek. I'm Greek Cypriot. And growing up, like primary school wise, it was just like an easy target for kids. It was just like it's a different name. On top of that, I went through like a bit of a health blip when I was like 7 or 8. And I like developed this skin condition where I had like a loss of pigmentation all over my body. So I had that going on. I was also called Hercules. I like had all these big spots over me, and just I got a lot of grief from other kids, and I remember being just kind of like embarrassed, and I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be like everyone else. I didn't want to be tanned. I didn't want to like have this name. I didn't want to have this stuff on my skin. And long story short, my mum had moved me school, and I was like, I can't go in there with this name. My uncle was called Lee at the time, and it was just like, well, Hercules, it sort of fits in. Why don't we just run with that? And it just completely changed. My name's Lee, but legally it was still Hercules. And so teachers would read that. I would like rush to classes to be like, don't read out my name. You have to call me Lee and stuff like that. And it was funny because I used to lie going through secondary school, like, oh, that's my middle name, or Lee is the English translation for Hercules, which is so funny. It's obviously not. People must have known that I was lying. And that rumor would like pop up once a year, be like, so-and-so said your real name is this. And I'd be like, no, it's not. And I was really ashamed of it. Also as well, because I didn't feel like I sort of deserved it. Such a like big name. And at the time I was like really struggling with my eating and just my confidence, and like I was sort of overweight when I was like going into my 20s. At the start of my 20s, that I was like, I can't be called Hercules. I felt like I didn't deserve it. So I kind of hid away from it. And I remember one day just realizing that Lee was like this cover up. It was like a safety blanket of, oh, that's fine, he can do all them things. But in the back of my head, I always knew I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be Hercules. I wanted to be the guy that could push himself, could go hard, could run marathons, ultra marathons, do all these things. And there's an awkward transition for everyone. My name just helps use it in a metaphor experience where you shed who you are, and it's a metamorphosis, right? And it's really ugly. You have to strip everything off. You're like emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything naked. And you just have to take hits, and you have to really be honest with yourself about who you are, who you want to be, and why you're not that person. And most of the time, we can internally answer them questions if we are really honest. The reason I didn't feel like I wanted to be Hercules was because I knew I wasn't giving things my all. I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't being honest. I was taking the easy route out all the time. So around my early 20s, I remember just being like, I just owned it. I was like, by the way, everyone who thought this was true, it is true. That is my real name. This is my name. I'm proud of it. Call me that, because that is who I am. People still call me Lee now who are like close to me, but I think they're just used to it. Most people call me Herc. Even to be honest, like I ordered a coffee yesterday and I was just like, they're like, what's your name? And I'm just like, H, because sometimes it's a conversation starter and I just don't want to have a conversation. But sometimes people are like, okay, really? Like I remember when I first was using, when I first like went on a dating app, and it was just bombarded with people that are like, that's not your name. What an arrogant thing to call yourself. And I was like, actually, is my name. Thanks, mum and dad. But that was probably the biggest. That was the first step to me being more authentic and just owning who I am. And then it really helped me do that in other parts of my life. The way I wanted to dress, the people, where I wanted to go, who I wanted to hang around with, all that type of stuff. I wasn't doing things to be the loudest person in the room and impress other people. I just started doing things for what made me happy.
That's amazing. So if for someone who's listening to this podcast who might be feeling a bit like that they're going through that transition, what would be your advice or like steps to kind of build that confidence and own who you are?
It's like the worst thing you can do when you are going through hard times, when you're going through hell, when you're going through a really rocky like path, is to sit down and stay there. the only way out is to literally keep going.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that when they're in that moment of struggle, in that moment of hardship, they think it's a really bad thing. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
It's actually one of the best things that you can go through, because it's helping you on the other side of that path.
Yeah.
Is a better version of you. That's where all your growth is. That's where you evolve. That's where
Yeah.
you become the person you want to be. But you don't get there by stopping and questioning why you're on that road.
Yeah.
The only way you get there is by putting one foot in front of another. So
Yeah.
my advice really is just keep going. You're already in a mess. You're already in hell. Why would you want to stay there?
Yeah.
Keep walking, and I
Yeah.
promise that it gets easier
better.
towards the end. It
Yeah.
really does every single time.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for that. And I love that kind of, I guess the motto, you could call it, of High Performance Club as well, is like that 1% better daily. And I love that. Like, just do that small thing each day, and you build on that, and it just keeps on growing.
Because I think a lot of people think, and I've done it before, it's like, right, I need to change my life. Let me, get rid of the Xbox, get rid of the TV, get all the junk food out of the house, everything. Right, I'm going to go and run like 10K a day. And like, you set these unrealistic expectations on yourself, and then you try and get 1,000% better in a day. It might last for 48 hours, and then ultimately you go half a step forward, 10 steps back, because you create a reality that is unsustainable.
Yeah, completely.
And really, you should always be more focused on your current trajectory than your current results.
Yeah.
People try and get the results quick, but that's not how it works. It's like, if you can just tick off something daily and build them right habits, eventually you will get there, and you'll get there in a sustainable way where it doesn't just blip away at one bad thing happens and you fall back into your old habits. So I'm really big on that. I used to be a guy that would just try and like transform everything in a day. It doesn't work.
No, it can have the opposite effect, as you say.
You know, people like, how do get a six pack in 4 weeks, or like get rich quick. None of these things exist. None of these. People always, I think, want to find the easy route.
Completely.
But if you always do what's easy, everything's hard in the long run, because you're not earning it. If you do what's hard, everything's easy in the long run. Like, and it's just, it is as simple as that.
Yeah, no, it is. And I've seen that even with marathon training. Like, I've said myself before, years ago, like, I would never be able to do a marathon. It's just too far. Like, how does anyone run that? And people still say it to me, like, how have you done that? And I'm like, well, I didn't wake up and just go and do it. Like, I've built up week by week, session by session, to get to that point where I could do it. I never thought I'd be able to, but I put that plan in place. And as you say, it's just that 1% each day. I trained and got a bit further and did a different tempo, and, you know, got there in the end. And I think there's so much that you can take from that. You can apply that to all different aspects of your life, like starting a business. You're not just gonna start it and then the next day you're super successful, you know? It's like
100%,
you got to go through that journey and the ups and downs as well.
Yeah, because people think, oh, he or she ran a marathon. They just, they ran 42K. Or let's take like a UFC champion, for example. He didn't become, no one becomes a champion by becoming a champion. They become a champion by, it goes beyond the training. In the morning when their alarm went off, they didn't snooze it. It's them little habits that enable people go, oh, you're so lucky. No, luck isn't involved. Luck is simply the preparation meeting the opportunity.
Completely.
You need to be prepared for the opportunity. So when the opportunity to run a marathon or have a title fight, whatever it is, comes up, you're prepared because you put the work in. So it's not, oh, I want to run a marathon, I'm going to go out and run 42K. It's, I want to run a marathon, I'm going to put my running shoes on today and maybe even just go out for a walk in them and see how they feel. And then I'm going to run a kilometre. And then I'm going to run 2K and build my way up to 5K. And then I might time my 5K and see how long it takes me. Cool, now I'm doing 10K. And it's them little steps of, you know, oh, I could go for a run before work, but I don't really want to. Go for a run before work. And then it's done. You're building the habits of a person who can run marathons. So it's in the really small, minute decisions in your life that can create the bigger sort of wins.
No, it is completely. It's that going to bed earlier without binging Netflix because you want to get up and do that run, or like not spending the night in the pub because you're not going to get up and do it, and you're going to snooze or you're going to feel rubbish. So it's it's like building in those. You're so right.
I think it was actually Ed Sheeran that did a video on this. He was asked a question in an interview, and he says, if I have a pint, I'm likely going to have another pint. And then by doing that, I'm going to have a kebab on the way home. Then I feel bad about myself. And then I wake up in the morning and I might have a row with my partner because I'm upset with myself. And then I go to work and my work's poor. And then that's
just like a domino effect.
Whereas have a glass of water. I feel quite good about that. I'm going to have a salad. And then I might go to the gym because I feel good. And then I'm really nice to my spouse and my kids because I'm feeling confident in myself. Then I wake up and I go work tomorrow and do a really good job. That might lead to becoming the CEO of the company one day, but you can't see it in that moment. It's just a glass of water. And even I feel like a lunatic saying that, but it is them little steps that it's the butterfly effect, right, of what they can build for your future. So it's about being more mindful of the small choices that you're making.
Completely.
They will determine who you're going to be.
Yeah, and I mentioned that to you before we started recording, but that's what I want to show with this podcast as well. And I said, like, for example, someone could look at you and say, wow, you're so successful, I want to be like Hercules, but they actually haven't seen or know all of those steps that you've had to take to get there yourself. As you say, like the bumpy road, but keeping going on that, and the ups and downs. And that's what I want to show through this for people listening.
No, I love that.
So that they can say, wow, I don't really know where I am in my 20s, or maybe I do, but so-and-so got here and they had these crazy experiences. I'm going to be okay. I can carry on and I can get to the end point. And that's kind of the whole point of wanting to do this podcast.
No, I love that.
And a bit for myself as well, because I'm still on that path, of like figuring it out. But I wanted to ask you, coming to the end of your 20s, like I'm reflecting on all of that, what then made you want to take on your 30 at 30 challenge? And can you explain to anyone listening who doesn't know what that is and what you're going to be doing, if you've done anything so far? I know that you have. And just tell us all about it.
So coming up to my 30s, especially like 28, 29, I was a bit paranoid about it. I was a bit worried about what it was going to look like. If I was behind, did I need to buy a house, have more money? Should I be married by now? Like all these things were like going on in my head. And I remember like Googling, just like searching stuff, and everything was 30 things you should do under 30, 30 experiences you have to have in your 20s. This is what every 20-year-old should try before they were 30. And I was like, this is kind of toxic, because what happens at 30? You just evaporate. I'm like, and then I was like, this is awful. And I was thinking, what about, no, I'm going to change the trajectory of that, and I'm going to do 30 things at 30. I'm going to make 30 the best year yet by putting all of that energy into that year, rather than being like, as an excuse of, but I'm 30 now, so I can slow down and train, or my back hurts or whatever, and all these things. So, I set myself 30 challenges at 30 years old. Some of them physical, some of them mental, more personal stuff. For example, to list a few of the challenges, I'll be running 100K on a track soon, actually. I've done a marathon with like a 10-kilo weighted vest, each kilo for like a year of my 20s. We're doing the 3 Peaks challenge. But then there's some more personal stuff, which is like taking each of my family members out for a day, just the two of us, and 30 random acts of kindness, or read a book a month. And them things are more about being a good person, or like being successful is not just in your physical or financial. It goes further. It's about being a good man or woman. And okay, cool, you can have all the money in the world and a six-pack, but how is your relationship with the people who matter the most? Because anyone would, if anyone could trade their money to go back and have moments with people that they lost. And why have to get to the moment of losing that person to appreciate it? So for me, it was like, these people are still here in my life. It's important for me to show them that I love them and I care about them as well before it's too late. We're always quick to give flowers when someone's gone. I want to recognize people while they're here. So for me, it was about breaking that ice. My family are not super like lovey-dovey, but we all love each other and we know we do. So for me, it was like, I want to break that barrier a bit and spend time with each of them personally, one-on-one. So like I had some of the challenges, like I've let my mum set a challenge for me. So we're going up to Wales and doing like the longest, I think it's like the longest or biggest zip line in Europe or the world, maybe something like that. So a lot of things that are like fearful and hard and uncomfortable, I'll be doing I am doing all year. Yeah. So I can look back at this year and go, yeah, went into 30s just like with a bang and set the precedents for the rest of the decade. So
I think that's so beautiful what you said. Like, I always say that myself. I think growing old is a privilege, and a lot of people get to their birthdays 100%. And they're like, oh God, I'm turning 30 or I'm turning 40 and I'm getting so much older. I always say to them, like, celebrate each birthday, because you don't know that tomorrow is promised, right?
100%.
It is a privilege. Like, I'm sure we've all lost people who passed away way before their time, and it's such a privilege to get older. And I think what you're doing is incredible. And I saw that you said on Instagram as well that you're like, it's that fear of turning 30, so you're going to step into that fear and just kind of conquer it and go through
again,
that.
like what I said earlier, stepping into that, like the path of when you're in hell, when you're doing things uncomfortable, stepping in, when you step into fear, you are coming face to face with a better version of yourself. When you run from it, you're literally turning your back on a better version of you, because on the other side of fear is growth. There is nothing else there except for like growth and evolution as a person. But it's fearful for a reason. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's not supposed to be easy. But that's the whole point of it. So
I was going to ask you that actually, because obviously you're doing some amazing big challenges. How do you like mentally prepare yourself for that? So like 100k on the track, like I can't imagine many people would be wanting to do that. How do you like prepare yourself? Well, I was thinking back to London Marathon, so I saw you you didn't see me, but I saw you at mile 25, and I could tell you were struggling. You were in a lot of pain.
I was cooked.
You were in a lot of pain. You had an injury, but I knew you were head down, you were focused, and I was literally screaming your name because I knew that you were so close to the finish line, and I saw that like drive in you. Although you kind of were a bit head down, I could see that pain in your face.
I was limping at that point, I think,
But you weren't stopping, you were carrying on. And how do you find that, like, to dig deep? And is it like, I guess, is it pride, or is it you, or something just that maybe you've just always had in you to push you forward?
There's a few elements in that. One of them is people think that these things are physical activities, and they're not. Like they're actually just mental mind games. So completely. The 100k, for example, I done 50k last year on the track, and it was hours of telling myself that, like, you can put one foot in front of another, your legs can keep going. They really can. It's your mind that switches off the muscles. Let's stop now, we're tired, I've had enough. So in terms of mentally preparing, it's funny, like when on my 30th birthday I'd done the first one, which was I ran a marathon on a track with the 10 kilo vest on, and even that morning I was like, I don't even know if I can do this. It's not like I think we're all like that. I'm not zoned on the day like, oh, I can definitely do this. It's when you hit that wall, that threshold in your head of this is really difficult now. I try and remember, good. That's where I wanted to get. That's the best bit that you can be at, because in that moment, you come like face to face with uncomfortable questions, and you really get tested on your integrity. Okay, who am I? It's easy to run the first 5k, 10k. It's not a problem. When you're in the second half, you're in the last half, that's when it starts. So for me, it's reminding myself, cool, you wanted to be here. Now this is time to prove it to yourself. And again, with London, I was like, had an Achilles injury. I literally text everyone that came to see me like, I'm stopping. I'm not doing this anymore. And I remember like taking a headphone out and just hearing the crowd. And then I was like, no, this is why you're here, to get over that pain, because I knew that I would get strong on the other end of it. So when I'm mentally preparing for things like the 100k and stuff like that, in that moment of pain, I just remind myself, you are going to be a new and improved you when it's done. It's not like, it's important, but it's not like, okay, well, I like prepared by like training in this way and I've done these exercises. That's important, but ultimately the thing that gets you through it is your mind game. And I think one of my drivers as well, whether it be good or bad, is the fear of failing. Like that is a driver for me. I've had people in my life and experiences in my life that have really showed me the wrong way to do stuff. And when I showed early habits of doing similar things in my 20s, I have a fear of like going back to that person and wasting my potential.
Yeah.
That is a big driver for me. So there's like, one of the motivators is like, I can become a better version. And the other motivator is like, you don't want to go back to that place again. So it's like a balance of the two, really, which I think is a healthy balance to have, not too much of one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so true. You're right. Like, we don't all just wake up with motivation every day. It's like, it's that discipline, isn't it? Of going at it and putting in those small habits and building that up. So yeah, I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I know that you also ask people to nominate. You said your mum's nominated challenge. Have you had any other nominations?
Yeah, I've had some wild ones.
Yeah. When I saw you putting that out, I was like, wow, I wonder what sorts of things people are gonna nominate.
Just like, some people were like, you should like do an Ironman in every continent, and I'm like, first of all, I haven't got the money to spend all on that. Two, I'm like, I don't have the time. I think some people, like, I do still work like 50 hours a week, like on top of the content and the fitness. I think that's important to remember. A lot of people that are making content, people look and go, wow, their life's great, they must just do this all the time. They don't. So, but some people just gave me like, there was a lot of running stuff in there. One of the challenges is so good that I can't say it because I'm gonna do it. Well, I will be announcing it, but there's been some massive distances like thrown at me. But there's been some cool ones. Like, a friend of mine was like, why don't you cycle to Paris when he's doing that? So that's on the cards.
Nice.
Had some ones about like, some really cool other ones, which was about mentoring a young runner into their first marathon and helping guide them, which I thought was really cool. That's a good experience. So yeah, there's lots in there. And anyone like listening and watching, I'd love more. You just click. I think I've got a link in my bio where the more the merrier. I love like reading them. They're funny.
I'll have to submit one.
Yeah, definitely.
And where you say, like, obviously you're still working your job and everything on top. How do you find that balance? Because I even sometimes myself struggle with that, and it's how do you manage to balance that all out of everything you're doing?
By like, first of all, remembering that like balance isn't like linear. So some weeks it means really going all in on business and maybe I don't upload every day. Other weeks it's right, content's really important this week because like this event's on and I need to drive that. So it's not about like balancing something perfectly every day, but just knowing over time that you're doing the right thing. That's like number one. Number two is, for me, it sounds so simple, but at the start of every day, I've literally done this for years now. I do it on paper because it's easier. These are the non-negotiables for the day. And my day stops when they're ticked off. And I don't want to sound like one of them 5 a.m. bros that it's not even that deep. It's just like, cool, this has to be done today. That way I know at the end of every day I've done the things that I needed to do. That's like been really important for me. And just having some boundaries. Like, it's unhealthy to be on the laptop from 8 in the morning until 12 at night. Some days it's essential and it needs to happen, but you're doing more damage than good. Like, you're getting up at 5 a.m. and then training and sitting on the laptop for like 12 hours a day and then like not eating enough food and, you know, and then going to bed late. And now all of a sudden you want to be up at 5 again because you're grinding, but okay, you've only had 4 or 5 hours sleep. So now you're fatigued. So now your training's knackered. Now your work's no good. You got like mind fog. So for me, it was about like setting the boundaries of like, no, I'm going to sleep until 7 if I need to and not feel bad about it. Because my run will be better. My work will be better. And just understanding that it's about doing things, future-proofing the way you're doing things, not just doing things for the sake of doing them because you want to be working hard. You need to be doing what's smart as well. Yeah,
no, I really like that. I don't think I've really heard that before, that different weeks can be different things. It's not just, as you say, like a linear balance. That's definitely something I'm gonna take forward with me. And with that, like, because you are busy and you're balancing different things, how do you feel that your kind of relationships have changed, or do you feel like they've evolved? Because as you say, you've met people through HPC that have become good friends, or is it kind of evolved or changed or been up and down?
Yes, I'd start by saying, like, for the majority of the time, I am quite a loner. Like, I'm alone a lot, and I was alone a lot in my 20s. And I remember like having this fearful moment once where I was like, man, I don't really have any close was like, do I have enough close friends to like carry my coffin? I know that sounds dramatic. I remember having that thought once. Or like, God, if I got married, I don't really have, who would I invite to my stag do?
Yeah.
And I got really embarrassed about that at one point. And I realized, like, when I started my own business, when I really started like working on gym and stuff, they were ultimately the reason my relationships, romantically as well, failed. They were the reason that I got distant from my family and friends. And like now, how they've changed is realizing that sometimes like you can reach out as well.
Yeah.
Be the person to reach out. Don't be a why me, no one gets in touch with me and stuff like that. It's easy to do that.
Yeah.
And all that will happen is time will pass and you would have just wasted time of like, you know, I know it sounds dramatic, but from my experience, feeling sorry for yourself. So now I think this is really important. I used to make the assumption that everyone wouldn't like me or had something negative to say about me and they would judge me. But by making that assumption, I was judging them because I'm assuming everyone only has negative thoughts and they all must all hate me because, well, now I'm judging that everyone else is a horrible person.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're creating all these realities of yourself that don't even exist. They're just assumptions. They're not real. So for me, it was like, why not assume that people were actually nice and like you and have something good to say and reach out to them? So now I'm a lot more forward in, you know, if talking to people, seeing people that I like booking stuff in, making effort with friends. It's great to like grind, work on yourself, work on the gym, work on your business, but ultimately it will be really lonely when you get there if you haven't put effort in with the people who matter, because they won't stick around forever. And cool, you might have earned X amount of money or got the body that you want, but who's there to sort of like share the glory and experience with you? So I definitely make more boundaries and efforts romantically, friends, family now, to just make sure that even a text goes a long way. Like it really does. Just to keep engaging and like talking to people.
Yeah, completely. We're social creatures, right? We're supposed to be around people and with people. So yeah, it's so important, as you say. You don't want to get to your success, whatever that is to you. And be on your own and not have anyone there to
like the lone wolf.
celebrate.
I think men have this a lot, like the lone wolf facade. I'll do it on my own. It's overrated. It actually is. I've done it. I've done it for years. I don't need anyone. I do everything by myself. It's not that good. I don't recommend it. You know, have friends, reach out to people, smile. It's like a lot nicer way to live.
It's so true. Yeah. So kind of looking back on everything, do you feel like, one, is your life where you thought it would be when you were younger? And two, like, how has your overall like outlook changed now from, I guess, the beginning of your 20s?
So my life definitely doesn't look how I thought it would. Not at all. I thought, okay, cool, 30, married, kids, mortgage, big house, successful. That's not the case at all. And I'm happy for that. I don't even want that right now. I'm not ready for that. Now my life, and that's like an image that society created for us. I didn't even really want them things. I was like, well, that's what I need to be like successful, or for my parents to be proud of me and all that stuff. I never thought that I would be like training on like athlete workout plans and like running marathons and like achieving times in my running that I never thought I would, or like physically evolving, keep getting better and better in like physical shape or performance. I never thought that would be a thing for me at this age. So what was the second question? I forgot it.
How'd your outlook change?
So my outlook's changed on the sense that because of that, I'm now trying, the way my outlook's changed is to just be more present and thankful for what you do have. I think it's really easy to look at, I don't have them things, but here's what I do have. I have like freedom. I travel a lot. I get to go to loads of really cool places. I've got like great friends. I get to come and do stuff like this. I get to like talk to younger people and help them. a lot of people are big on this, and I really love it. It's like, it's not I have to, it's I get to.
Yeah,
so it's
completely.
Yeah, I get to like go to the track and do intervals that evening with a bunch of really cool people. It's not like, oh, I've got to go and do that. So I used to look at that life that I thought I would have, and now I'm like, God, I was not ready for that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm still not ready for it. You don't have to be ready for that in your 30s. Some people are ready for it at 24. Some people are ready for it at 40.
Yeah.
Don't compare yourself. That's one thing I've really focused on taking out at this stage of my life is you're comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 17.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not at the same point in your life.
Yeah, completely.
Why even bother making that comparison? So, my outlook has definitely changed from just switching off from that. The only person I'm comparing myself to is yesterday's version of me. That's the only one that really matters.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think it's like having that confidence in where you are yourself. As you say, like, I guess society had created all of these things of where you should be. Yeah. And as long as you're confident in where you are and what you're doing, and you know where you're going, and you're happy with what you're doing, that's kind of the goal, right? That's what
success.
we all want to do. Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with success. I was like, I need to be successful. Yeah. And cool, this is the blueprint for success, but it's not. Success is ultimately being happy. Yeah. It's not having a big house. Might be having loads of money, having a family and all the rest of it. Yeah. Success is you waking up happy with the day ahead of you. You're up before your alarm. You're excited to get out of bed. Yeah. That's success. Are you happy with what you're doing the majority of the time? Yeah. So if the one size fits all nuclear lifestyle isn't what makes you happy, don't do it. It's not going to... It might make you successful exterior to other people looking in, but that's just perception. Yeah. If you're not happy, then you're not successful. Yeah. I don't care what anyone else says.
No, I completely agree with that as well. And just knowing that is different for everyone. Yeah. So let so-and-so who's doing that get on with what they're doing, and you're over here doing what you're doing, and you're happy with it. Yeah. Yeah. Great. So my final question, what I want to ask all of my guests is, if you could go back to the beginning of your 20s, knowing everything you've gone through, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give to yourself?
The one piece of advice, like, relax. Yeah. Just chill out, enjoy it, stop putting so much pressure on, and just like take a breath and look around and just like be in this moment more. Especially early 20s, it was like, when I go traveling, when I earn this, when I do this, when I get that, when I'm with that person, I'll be happy. Without realizing that happiness isn't a destination or a place or a number in the bank. It's none of them things. It's a decision every day. It's there. It's all around you. Yeah. And it's gratitude ultimately for where you are and what you do have. And I just didn't have that. So I wasted plenty of time not being present, focusing on where I should be next and what I should do next. Yeah. And if I was to give, 20-year-old me advice, it would just be, you don't realize you're in the good old days until they are gone. Yeah. And, you know, they're beautiful moments. I wasted a lot of holidays or experiences from worrying about what's next and that I'm not doing enough. But life is about enjoying it as well. Grinding and working hard is great, but life is there to be experienced and it's there to be enjoyed. Enjoy it. You're in your 20s. It's like the time to make mistakes and just do things wrong. Like I said earlier, it's the rehearsal. It's not the main act. Yeah. So have fun. Have fun a bit more.
Yeah, I love that. Happiness isn't a destination. No. That is amazing. Yeah. And if for anyone who wants to follow you, follow your journey, give a suggestion to your 30 at 30, where can people find you?
So my Instagram is Hercules with 2 U's. Yeah. TikTok is Walking with Hercules. Yeah. The link in my bio, people can leave suggestions for the 30 at 30. But that's everywhere I am.
Amazing. And I'll make sure that I link it to this episode as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on, Hercules. I feel like I've taken so much wisdom from that episode.
I love that. I hope so.
Yeah, completely. So. And I think it will help so many people. So thank you for your time, for coming on and for sitting down with me.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please continue to like, subscribe, share, and follow us on socials. See you next week for another episode.